Hello and welcome to this audio edition of the Player Spotlight. I'm Tyler Rowland. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It'll really help us with promoting the athletes and the reach that we have in doing so. And my guest today, I am so excited to introduce. He's somebody that played at Ashland that has gone on to the next level at Liberty University and has become, of course, a reliable point guard and somebody that has been one of the nation's leaders in assist turnover ratio. And when playing for Ritchie McKay, yes, he is one of the leaders in the entire NCAA Division I. And I'm proud to introduce to you Colin Porter. And Colin, it's good to see you on, man. How have you been, first off? And I know you had that wrist injury the last game. Give us an update on that.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to be here, Tyler. It's going good. I had surgery like a week after season ended, and I'm just now getting back to on-court workouts. And this past week, I've been a little working and setting a goal for myself, and I'm at it every morning. So I have a great perspective right now of wanting to be in the gym and enjoying the struggles on court right now, getting my handles back, getting the shot back, and everything. It's enjoyable because of the time that I missed due to the injury.
And talk a little bit about the goals you set for yourself, because those are pretty darn lofty.
Yeah, so during the springtime, Coach McKay said we had to make 1,000 threes a week, and so obviously I couldn't do that with my wrist injury. But so now, since I've been back, I started last week, and I set the goal for myself. So me and Gabriel McKay are the ones here on campus right now, and so I have the gym to myself. So I got that goal, and I'm trying to do it every week. So we'll see how long I keep it going for.
And we'll start now going back. We're going to start a little bit going back to your time at Ashland. When you look at the time spent there, I mean, you look at like Jason Mays, Ryan Bonner, and you just see the great coaches you had who you learned from. And talk about how it feels, first off, after you graduated, just to see the team continue to succeed, to win the region. I mean, 6 times in a row. The last time that happened was Clark County when they were a member of the 16th. They won it from 1946 to 1952 every year. And talk about just how it feels to see that and some of those young guys coming in behind you, stepping it up.
Yeah, it's amazing to see, especially this last team. I came in my freshman year with Asher Atkins and Nate Freeze, and just being able to see them have a great year. Just watching them from my point of view, I could tell they were selfless, and that explains Ashland basketball. That's what Coach Mays, whenever I was there, that's what he installed in us, and it's what Coach Bonner's doing now. They have a great group of guys who's selfless and what's best for the team. So that's what Coach, he preached to us on the daily, and I think that they're just continuing it because of the foundation that was laid before them, way before I got there.
Mm-hmm. And you had at Ashland. I mean, of course, you had a lot of success. I mean, you had a Final Four, a part of a historical team in 2020, going 33-0. What do you feel like is something you've learned from that stretch that you've carried onto you at Liberty University?
Tyler, there's so many things that I learned during those exciting 3 years, but I would say the importance of relationship. I think that one thing with Coach Mays, our relationship has changed now that I'm out, or now that he's not coaching me on the daily basis. He's still someone that I can call for advice on the court, but as well just speaking off the court. And I think that's what we have with, me, Cole Villers, Ethan Sellers, Ryan Ack, all those guys that graduated in 2022 and 2021 with Sean and Hunter Gillum, and going back even farther with Ethan Hudson, Nolan Phillips, and Justin Bradley. I think it's just a lifetime of friendships that we have built, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'll never be able to thank them enough for just allowing me to come in and build relationships that I pray that will last a lifetime.
Powerful words. And let's start a little bit now talking about Liberty. And starting out, you come into Liberty, Colin, and how was it to you at first? I mean, because you came, if I remember right, it wasn't too long after graduation. I think you might have taken a summer class, or you moved up there for the summer. And talk about how it felt adapting to all of a sudden, I mean, going from being a top-notch high school prospect to, I mean, playing against guys that are 2-3 years older than you. That I always say with college, I mean, only 7% of high school athletes get to make it there regardless of level. So, I mean, you're playing against the top 7% of the athletes in the country. So, like, were you overwhelmed, or did it give you a sense of, like, did a fire build up? Like, what was your mentality at Liberty when you first started?
I would say that it's a learning curve for anyone at any 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, and no star. It's going to be a learning curve regardless of what you expect going into college. The first couple months whenever you're here in June and July, you got to learn to grow up and live on your own. You got to learn to work harder than you ever had before. You got to, you're taking class. You got to learn how to interact with your professors, the tutors here at Liberty. You got to there's a lot of learning. And so I think that's the biggest thing. Is like I came into it I didn't know the amount of time that it would take on my day-to-day basis, just being a collegiate athlete. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just knowing that there's going to be a learning curve, and how can you accept that to then grow as a man and, on the court and off the court.
And what were the classes like for you? The classes and the culture, I should say, too, like for you starting out?
Yeah, so the first 2 months I was here in June and July, it was just the men and women's basketball team and the football team here in June. And so in my class, there was only like 5 of us. And that was the first month. And then the second month, the rest of the incoming freshmen for all the sports came in. And so then there was more there was more kids or more students in each of the classes, as well as once or twice a week we were doing things called Summer Bridge. So we would do activities with the other student athletes that are incoming freshmen. And so there's just a lot of things that you have to, adjust to and go out of your way and meet new people. And, you just got to be willing to adapt to whatever it is, like whatever school it is that you're going to. There's going to be different learning curves and adaptation that you have to do.
And so you start out your freshman year, and then you end up earning the starting point guard spot. When you got to your first few games, I mean, what did that feel like? I mean, being the starting point guard, I mean, at a school that's no stranger to the NCAA tournaments, and I mean, getting that opportunity at such a young age.
Yeah, it was awesome. We preach gratitude here, and that's all that I have for this university, this team, and these great group of guys that I get to do life with on a day-to-day basis. Really, my first game against a D1 team, it was against Alabama, who was the number 1 team in the nation throughout the entire year, with a great freshman class with veterans like Mark Sears, and they were good. So it was a crazy environment going to Tuscaloosa. And it was my welcome to college basketball, because we didn't shy away from no one, and they just threw me out there to the fire. And I think that's the best way of learning whenever you're playing against, like you said, the top 7% in the basketball here in the country. So I think it's the best way of learning, just throwing yourself out there. And Coach McKay did that, and I'm forever grateful for that.
And I mean, did anybody point out to you afterward that you didn't have a single turnover against an Alabama team that was a year away from a Final Four?
I may have heard that, Tyler, but I think we lost by a good amount of points, so that was not really the main thing that we were looking at that point in time. trying to watch film and see what it is that we need to do to get better, to be able to compete against teams that once we hopefully will make the tournament, we'll see in the round of 64 and however many games we can play in a tournament. So we'll see them on the day-to-day basis.
Good opportunity to get to, just to experience that level of competition. Of course, Alabama under Nate Oates has been, who's come leaps and bounds. And let's talk a little bit about going through your freshman year. You continue to get better, and talk about Coach McKay and what are some of his big strengths, because you can tell how well you've bonded with him, and you could see that, but really from the time you committed there, that was going to be the perfect coach for you. And talk about Coach McKay and just what he has done and how he's impacted your game.
Yeah, I'd say one of Coach's biggest strengths is his grace. If you go and look at that freshman year and even last year, my sophomore year, I had a lot of downs as well as some ups. But even whenever I wasn't playing well, he still had grace and trust that he would just preach to me on a day-to-day basis. And coming from the guy in charge, that means a lot for a point guard. He was a point guard back in his day, and he played professionally. So I respect everything about him. I respect him as a person, coach, and a player. And it's amazing to know that your head coach trusts you and will allow you to fail to then learn and get better and grow on and off the court.
And gosh, just looking at that and looking back at last year, of course, I know you made the switch from the Atlantic Sun and to Conference USA. And of course, you were the first freshman from the school I remember to make all conference or the all freshman team, and from that school in the A-Sun. And then let's talk a little bit about one of your opponents, because of course, and I brought this up in his interview, someone you're probably going to guess I'm going to bring up is Turner Buttrey. Yeah. And gosh, you got to compete against him 3 times last year. As a freshman, 3 outstanding games too. And you guys played each other as juniors at Ashland, and in the 2021, the Final Four season for Ashland. We got to go there, of course, and then the next year they would come and be a part of the AIT. But talk about Turner Buttrey and just what that was like, just getting to see somebody that had also had success and was a Kentucky guy, and of course someone I know that you highly respect to get to compete against him.
Oh yeah, Turner's a great dude. It's more than respect now. It's a friendship that I'm grateful for. And but no, he won the first 2 games against me at Bowling Green and then at Eastern Kentucky. So the last 2 games, I told myself that I had to win to even out the series, because we don't know if we'll ever play each other again. But so I was so glad we won that, so he would never have those bragging rights on me for the rest of our playing career and friendship after basketball. So I'm so glad we won those 2, because he likes to get on social media and post sometimes, so I couldn't let that be one of the posts for him. But no, he's a great dude, and I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful to be able to talk to him about basketball, about life, about just our walk with Christ and all the things that truly matter in this world. I feel like he's someone that if I need or if he needs me, we're comfortable enough to reach out to one another.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that, just being so young and looked up to, and your walk with Christ. And that's something Turner and I talked about too, was the walk with Christ. And when I remember it was going into your senior season at Ashland, and I remember you were coming on to my town to roll with it that night. I could see how much more outspoken you have become, and I remember you first really opening up about your faith there. And talk about just and I know Liberty's a great atmosphere for that too, to train and raise people to to share the faith and the Word of God, and talk about that, and just as a college athlete, the importance of setting that example.
Yeah, this leads back to, I believe it was your first question about what I've learned most at Liberty or at Ashland, and it was relationships. And my relationship with Cole, with Selly, with now a lot of people here at Liberty, they have allowed me to, just realize that there's much bigger things than basketball. I've always played basketball. It can be an identity for some people, but I'm thankful that, this past year, that whenever things weren't going my way, whenever I felt like, I could do more, or I felt like I could do things that wasn't showing up on the stat sheet, I felt like I was completely just okay with that, knowing that this game of basketball is not what defines me, but rather it's just the people and the things that I get to, the people that I get to impact to ultimately lead to Christ is just the main importance for basketball, just being a platform to share and, to see people, each game before I go out, I always pray that I pray that, people see Christ through me. And so a lot of times it's not with words, but with actions. So I'm trying, to live my life according to His word, and allowing His will to be done in my life.
Mm-hmm. And going into your sophomore season, what was it like the switching conferences? What was that process like?
The margin of errors is a lot smaller in Conference USA. If you go and look at a lot of our games, we had a chance to win a lot of them. First game at Western Kentucky, we go on the road. We have a wide open three, and we have one of our best shooters shooting the shot, in Brody Peebles. And it's a corner three. He makes them 9 out of 10 times, and it just didn't fall. If you go to our next game, we go to Louisiana Tech, who's the number 1 seed in the conference. We take them to overtime. We have a chance to win the game. It's hard to win on the road. There's so many. We had so many chances, and a good season or versus a great season just defined on how you can win the close games. And I know a lot of people that will listen to this will be from Ashland. So you understand, in 2020, we had so many games come down to the wire, and some of it's luck, and some of it was just the ability for us to be united. And we're a group who truly loved one another, 1 through however many there was, 15. So I believe that gave us an edge to be able to close out games that probably shouldn't have went our way, but we were able to do so. So I think that's one of the biggest things, just the margin for error.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that 2020 squad, you look back, and that's so amazing when you think about it, because you think about, of course, I mean, everyone, the West Carter's game, I mean, that one, but coming
West
back
Carter,
down 13,
Mason County.
Mason, yeah, great
we had
team.
George Artis Clark. Whenever Sally didn't play, we went on the road and beat them in overtime.
Yeah, and that was a state tournament team.
Yeah, so there's so many games. Louisville Butler, I mean, Jesus definitely let the floor be wet so we could go out and beat them. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen.
Yeah. They had, and you talk about making plays away from the ball. I remember that Louisville Butler team, the center they had, that Cam Underwood. I will never forget him. I mean, he was probably about 6'5", but just the things he did away from the ball, were
they were a tough team. But that's just one of the things. I mean, we played Boyd County 4 times that year, 3 times, and each game was close. I mean, they were so many close games, and we were just fortunate enough to pull out the close ones, and it helped us, have a 33-0 record.
Yeah, Boyd that year, of course, had Blake Stewart, and Blake, one of the all-time greats, who actually just finished up at center and got to start some games his senior year, won a team award and for his leadership. And Colin, let's start going a little bit into the end of your sophomore season. What was something you feel like that what was an area you feel like you grew in comparison to your freshman season?
Tyler, I'd say one of the things is my ability. The Lord has gifted me with the ability to impact others on the court. A lot of times how do I put this? A lot of times my value is based off of my teammates' success. And so I think for me is like this year, we have a lot of great players who do things with the ball, without the ball. And I think for me this year was learning how can I impact the game the way that the Lord has gifted me to, affect others on my team in a great way, in a positive way, without having the ball sometimes. And I think that was a growth area for me as a basketball player that I've been able to look back at and watch film. Being out for 6 weeks with a wrist injury, it allowed me to, just reflect on the season and realize, like, how can I continue to build off of the season that I feel like I didn't play my best? How can I then turn that into a great junior year that I play in freedom and give myself away? I'm other-centric to my teammates, my coaches, and just, once again, just be the person who can sacrifice to then impact in a positive way my teammates around me in a winning equation. So I think that's the biggest thing for me right now is just, how can I do the things that I just listed to at a higher level next year in freedom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, you got some guys coming back. That's going to be, I think, you got some good pieces to build around. And I know one that was, of course, was a senior this year. Talk a little bit about Kyle Rode, and because of course Kyle, a Kentucky guy, and led the team in scoring this year. And talk about your strong friendship with him.
Kyle's the best leader I've ever been around, on and off the court. I believe he is a great person, and I mean that sincerely. Today he beat me up in a one-on-one. First time being able to play one-on-one, so he got to show me what it was like at the Spurs workout that he had recently. He has a workout with the Warriors, the Indiana Pacers, and Utah Jazz coming up, and he deserves each one of those. And
wow,
he's gonna do great things in his professional career, but I mean off the court is where he really shines, and in building relationships. He and his wife Jessica Rode have the team over, and we play game night. We actually did that last night, and it's a lot of things that, I mean, we call him Cap out on the court, and for captain, and he really is. He is a leader on and off the court, and I think that's his biggest asset to just impacting those around him. It's just his ability to lead whoever it might be. I mean, he has a special gift for that.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit about the road games you play, Colin, because I know, of course, as fans, we're used to turning it on, watching the game, and that's it. I mean, we know there's a lot of prep that goes into it on your side, but I know there's probably some neat experiences you've had, and not just on the basketball end on a road trip. What would be one of those that come to mind that you could share?
Man, Conference USA was amazing this year in the fact, well, not on the road. We only came away with one road win in the conference, but the being able to, I mean, we went to Las Cruces, New Mexico. We went to UTEP, El Paso. We were on the border of Mexico, first time, being in that scenario. We were so many places. Miami in February, which was beautiful. Myrtle Beach, me and my family used to go a lot, but that experience was amazing, being with the team. And Cancun last year, and they're all special because of so we fly charter to each game, which is amazing. Very grateful for that. Whenever we get there, we will go to the hotel and do some homework, and then we'll go out with Mama Chels, who is our chief of staff and assistant athletic director here. We'll walk to dinner, and that's amazing. Just that's the best time of every road trip right there, is going to dinner with the whole team and Mom and Chelsea, and just the laughter, the fun times. Like, it really is something that whenever I'm done with Liberty, it'll be something that I really look back on and will cherish those memories. Because I mean, regardless of whatever happened on that basketball court, I mean, that's going to be forgotten in just a few short years. But the memories that we make on that plane and going to places and going out to team dinner, that's the best time of the season, is the road games.
Mm-hmm. And what would be a tip you would give Colin playing point guard? I mean, and of course, I mean, I'm sure you'd have something valuable coming from one of the nation's leaders in assist turnover ratios when it comes to facilitating an offense. And because I remember seeing a Ashland, and I mean, just how rare. I mean, you always had the team under control. The team, I mean, you guys turn the ball over very rarely, and sometimes, I mean, you'd be going against the press and having two guys hanging on you as a ball handler. What is something that, and you'd succeed against it, what was something that you would recommend for somebody that aspires to be a point guard at the level that you are?
Man, Tyler, I love your interviews. You really help my confidence. You really help my confidence. But you know, I think that it's just, like I said earlier, being a point guard is unique. There's not a lot of old school point guards, as you could say, nowadays. You know, it's a lot of scoring guards. It's a positionless basketball. So you got forwards bringing the ball up, and that's something that I've been able to learn, like, this past year. It's like, being a point guard, you have to have everyone under control, and sometimes that's not with the ball, but it can be with your voice, and that's the area for growth that I need to work on. And I think it'll be easier for me this year because I'm a upperclassman now. We have 7 new guys coming in, so I think that'll be, for me, I have to do that, or else, you know, then they won't understand the way of Liberty basketball, which has been so successful in the past. But going back on that question, I just think that you have to be able to sacrifice for your teammates. And whenever you build relationships with those that you're out on the court with, I don't even think sacrifice is the right word, because you do it out of love. And, you know, like, I love seeing Cole Villers lead us in scoring at Ashland. Senior year, I love seeing Ethan Sellers lead us in scoring. You know, my freshman year here, I got to play alongside Darius McGee, who's now playing for the Indiana Pacers G League team. This past year, you know, I shared the backcourt with Caden Matheny, who's one of my closest friends now. I got to watch how Kyle Rode, who's 6'7", he has the tangibles of being a point guard because of his voice, IQ, leadership. And so I think all those things, IQ, leadership, you got to be the coach on the floor. You got to be able to know when to take that shot or when to get a better one for your team. You got to understand time and score. There's just so many things that go into it of being a point guard that sometimes the normal eye doesn't see. But, you know, it's cool. I appreciate it. It's not for everyone, but I'm thankful God gave me the ability to be a point guard, and especially just here at Liberty University.
And talk about the events on campus at Liberty over your 2 years. What are some of the events that maybe you like? Maybe that could be a club or something like that goes on campus. What are something that a memorable event for you?
Yeah. So we have Convocation every Wednesday and Friday. It's mandatory whenever you're on campus. This past year, I actually moved off campus, so it wasn't mandatory, but at Liberty, they have such great speakers coming in that you want to go to Convocation. And so there's so many great singers, great bands that come in. We had Casting Crowns come in. They were amazing. I loved that one. I'm trying to think of some of the other speakers. We've had Mike Pence come in. That was just that was so cool. There's just so many great things. Every Wednesday night we have campus community where you worship, listen to a preacher, and then you worship some more. There's just so many great things that I also don't attend because of just like playing on a basketball team, like the time that it takes up. So I'm sure there's more things that I could experience that I probably need to. That's just so great here at Liberty University, the ability to, make friends, build relationships with genuine people who care for you and who love the Lord. So I think that's just a unique thing about Liberty.
Mm-hmm. And what's something you've had? We talked before the interview. You mentioned changing your major. Talk a little bit about that. And maybe also, I mentioned events in the last question. Talk about a class that you've had on campus that maybe you've really liked.
I would say you'll love this, Tyler. I've been enjoying my accounting class this past year. I had accounting 211 in the fall and accounting 212 in the spring, and I genuinely enjoy just going and listen to my professor speak. Sometimes it feels like I'm listening to Spanish, but I enjoy it sometimes. And so right now I only have one class in person, and that's the class that I'm taking. And so, I think I'm more engaged with that being that I'm going to class, instead of it being online. So that has to be what I've been enjoying and taking up a lot of my time. So I might come work for you one day, Tyler.
Oh, well, that'd be an honor. Yeah, accounting classes that can and that I was wanting, but that was actually what influenced me. I was undecided, and it was the late Don Fraley, who was a strong Christian. He taught at ACTC and had him for accounting and for personal finance, and it definitely made a difference.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let me share a testimony of my professor this past semester in accounting 212. So her name was Professor Geisler, and she was from Singapore, I believe. And so her family grew up worshiping many gods, and so it was not okay for her to worship Jesus, And she had a friend in one of her classes who kept telling her, like, "Hey, will you come to church with me? Will you come to church with me?" She said, obviously, she was like, "No, I can't." She didn't want to, because every time they go home, once a month, they'd have a feast, and she'd pray to her, the statues in her house, which was like her gods, they represented a god. And so she said that her friend was just persistent. She kept trying, and a year or so passed, and she said, "Will you come to this?" How'd she word it? She said, "Will you come to this event?" Didn't say church, and she just said event. And so then she's like, "Yeah, I'll go." So they go to this big thing, and it was I forget the name of who it was, but it was a something crusade. A Billy Graham crusade, I believe, might have been it. And so she gets there. Right. Yeah, and it's like in a football stadium. So she gets there, realizes that it's obviously a gathering of Christian people, and she tries to lead, but the crowd is too big coming in, so she can't. So she's like, "I don't want to be awkward. I'm just going to, go and sit and not pay attention so that her guys don't get mad at her." She goes, and she has her head down the whole time, and she said, I believe how it went was by the end of the service and worship, she ended up going down to the soccer field and getting saved. And then following that, obviously, she would have persecution from her family. She would save up her lunch money that her mother would give her, and she bought a Bible with it, and she would keep it in her, I believe, one of her textbooks from school. and she might have been in high school at this time, I believe, and so she would keep it in that textbook so that they wouldn't find it and throw it away because it obviously was expensive, and she didn't have a lot of money, especially towards that. They wouldn't give her the money for that. And then, so now she obviously now lives in Lynchburg, and her husband just got to was tied in to helping a Billy Graham crusade for the first time since that time in her hometown of Singapore. And so that's just like, we have professors here who share their testimony, pray before every class. And it's just things like that, I may never be like you, Tyler, in accounting, but that's something that stood out to me was that testimony. Because I know how blessed I am to have the family who showed me, like, just the way to live life in truth. And, so it's just amazing to see people who persevere through persecution and all that things. And just hearing those testimonies is really powerful.
Wow. And that's beautifully said, Colin. And that's something that is, you made such a great point on all that, because you think of like some classes. I'll give you an example that I think of ACTC. Virgil Davis, he teaches psychology there, and he's known as an amazing professor for good reason. But the biggest lesson I learned from him was when we were talking in his office, and he was telling me how, because you know how I do accounting and I do the whole, I do a lot on sports on the side, and I consider it a career. But he said you can do more than one thing, because he also runs his own karate studio. And sometimes you'll get and Davis, who is also a Christian, and you get these testimonies like from people, and sometimes those testimonies are so powerful that even though they teach and do a good job in their subject, sometimes a story like that can just be so powerful and inspiring, and also makes you think about how fortunate we are. To be able to have the ability to speak out and pray in public like we do. And Colin, what are for fun? We'll get to some questions here. What do you think about the NBA playoffs right now?
Man, it's competitive, isn't it? You can see the skill, and whenever they're playing defense at the elite level they are, just seeing how each offensive player who's really good have counter moves to whatever the defense is throwing at them. And I think that's just cool to see, just being able to watch that and understand, like now, whenever people watch that, they understand why they're the best players in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just because you look at how quick those guys cut, how quick they have to, and how good they communicate on screens. I remember that was one of the assignments. I remember in 7th grade, Don Likens, one of my basketball coaches, and he's like, I want you guys to go watch 2 basketball. And that's a good lesson, too, because you look at it and you think, because you watch the ball move around, typically people do as a fan. But everything away from the ball, like Don Likens said, that's the game. Yeah.
That's true. Very well said.
Yeah, they've got and then and who's the team that if you had to pick right now, who do you think's going to end up winning it all?
I think you got to say the Nuggets. They handled adversity hard. Went down 0-2.
Yeah.
Won the next 3. I think that's why they're the defending champs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they've done some. That was big. Yeah, certainly didn't expect them to see them down 0-2 like that. And I'm going to say 2 words, Colin, and just give me what response that comes to mind. Luke Mays.
The GOAT. I don't think there's anything other than just a blessing. He's awesome. I love Luke. I love going back to Ashland and being able to see him. Him surprising me at the game that we played in the Charlotte Hornet Arena was best moment of the season right there. Being able to hug him before we started warming up. That was amazing. He really is a blessing to all who know him. Knowing him is a blessing.
Gosh, that is. You look at Luke, and yeah, so many like. Just you think of, I get goosebumps like talking about it. Like
yeah.
It's just so. There's always that moment. There was that Challenger League game when he hit that 3 at the buzzer, and I mean the place just exploded. And then out in the lobby, Luke's running around with a phone, and he's showing everybody. He's like, "Oh, you got to see this!" Like he's showing everybody this spot.
No, he's the man.
That's just so many great, treasurable moments with him. And Colin, the last question: are there any shout-outs you'd like to give?
I'll keep it in house. I'm gonna shout out you, Tyler Rowland. Just the impact you have on athletes around the area is truly special. I love being able to go back and rewatch a game on my town of our Ashland teams and hearing you and Chris Pullum. You and Chris Pullum speaking the game, calling the games. It's amazing, and I truly appreciate all that you've done for me individually, but just the area and everything that you've done is truly it doesn't go unnoticed. So just thank you for all you've done.
Well, I'm very humbled by that. Thank you. And thank you, Colin, for everything you do. And we also want to say thank you for listening, and be sure to stay tuned to Liberty University and to Colin Porter and keep following his career. A lot of great things going on at Liberty. They're always a contender for the NCAA tournament. And Ritchie McKay, who's had multiple appearances as their head coach. And we want to say thank you for tuning in and watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and help continue to promote athletes throughout the country. And we want to say thank you. God bless you. And we will see you soon. Good night, everybody.